So I'll see, Ali, you've had requests for your dad to come on and sing then tonight.
You know what? It's an absolute nightmare. The man overshadows me constantly. I just want my own time, my own space to be myself. I might have to do a podcast with my dad, I reckon. I think it's coming, isn't it? Because it won't end well. I support West Ham, he's a Spurs fan. It's going to be a blatant argument every 5 minutes, isn't it? Obviously, we're better than them currently, so I'll win all the arguments, so it's fine.
Okay, so for some reason it's not gone live on Facebook tonight. I don't know why. But we are live on Twitter and we are live on that, so I'm not sure why. It's going to be 2 secs, guys, and I'm with you. So for those that don't know, while I'm just doing this, me and Ali do a show on which we're going to try and get back as soon as possible on a Friday night, and it's called the Effing Bag Show, and we have people come on and sing, and her daddy's one of those that has come on this program and actually sang on the program. He's got his own YouTube page. He's got everything he has. He's a great singer as well.
Almost as famous as me.
I'll take a miss on that one Friday night.
So that one's full of ladies. That one. So you'd like that one, George?
Yeah. Well, would I? How do you know me then?
It's basically free physios being given a full reign to be in charge. It's an absolute nightmare, isn't it, Dave?
It's just basically, just a night to be able to be on the P, isn't it? Really, more than anything else.
Pretty much, yeah.
Let your hair down,
especially with Ems.
Yeah, I do. I miss it, Dave. We need to get back at doing it soon. I'm sure Ems is bottling to get back to it.
I know she is. Yeah, we will get back to it. I'll talk to you about it once we've finished. We definitely need to get back to it. So we're not going to get Facebook. It's not going to come up. So we'll have to leave Facebook tonight, which is unfortunate. But there we go. We'll share it through YouTube on Facebook, and then hopefully people can pick it up on there. Sorry, guys, I don't have anybody to do this for me, so I have to do it all myself. So,
all right, no issues.
Okay, right. We'll start sharing it as we go along. Well, welcome to the D&K Reposs Non League show, and we're here for the next just under a couple of hours, and we're here and joining me tonight, of course. Unfortunately, Keith he's extremely busy tonight, so he can't make it with us tonight. But we've upped the glamour on the show tonight. So we've got Ali's joining us, of course, good friend of mine, and of course from the Effing Bag Show. She's come on to help present the show tonight. Of course, Ali, the physio from Barking. Welcome, Ali. Are you okay, mate?
Very good, thank you. How are you, Dave? Good week?
Not too bad, mate. Not too bad. And she's got her SC Don shirt on as well, by the looks of it as well.
It has got my name on the back as well. I can confirm. I finally got a squad number, Dave, after moaning at them for the last 18 months.
Good day, though.
Yeah, very good so far. Hospital's getting busier again, but it's winter. But yeah, all good. No complaints my end.
So, I mean, is it coronavirus wise, though, still all okay down there in the hospital?
We're
Come back.
doing a lot of long COVID work. A lot of work from people who've had COVID and now recovering, which is always good. So yeah, not as bad as it was this time last year, which is always a positive thing.
Yeah.
Hopeful, innit? We all want a Christmas. Let's
Definitely.
push it into existence, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Also join us tonight, top left. Become a good friend now of me as well, because George, the assistant manager at FC Romania. So welcome, George.
Thank you for inviting me.
And new friends to the show at the bottom of our screen, and I'm going to have to try and make sure I get this right. So because we've all come in late today, we've got River Allen. Of course, he's the captain of Plymouth Parkway.
Yeah,
welcome, River, and of course Mike is with us as well. Does the Twitter and Facebook and social media stuff also for Plymouth Parkway. We're hoping Matt might join us as well, the head coach from Plymouth Pathway as well. And also as well, we've also got joining us later is Martin Dyan, the manager of South Park. But last week, guys, and I don't know if anybody saw the show last week, we had a little change up, just tried to put a little bit of a refresher into the show and tried to see what we could do to refresh it. So one of the things we did, and it's been going on quite often now, I've noticed on radio lately, where people come on there and we get people on, and they start guessing birthdays of whose birthday it was on that day, and basically how old these people might be today as it was their birthday. Well, we've sort of gone that sort of route, but we're not actually going to start to birthdays. What we're going to do is the attendance from the weekend. Okay, so I'll give you a game. You give me what you think the attendance was without looking on Google or football web pages, and tell me what you think the actual attendance was. So I hope you know what your attendance was at your games at the weekend as well, because they will be on the list. So we'll start off then with the big one, which was the big game in the Isthmian League Premier Division at the weekend, which was Worthing against Cheshunt, which ended up with Worthing, the league leaders, losing 2-1 at home to Cheshunt. So we'll start with the guys from the Southern League first, because if the ones from the Northern, from the Isthmian League start giving you numbers, then you might be able to sort of get a bit close to it. So what do we think for Worthing versus Cheshunt? So River, what do you think?
Are they both at the top, are they?
So?
Yes.
Worthing at the top of the table, yeah.
Yeah.
Cheshunt just outside the playoffs. Or they were. I don't know if they still are now with that victory.
That's right. Yeah.
I'll go 350.
350? What do we think, Mike?
But if he's gone low, I'll go a bit higher then, just so we got a better chance. I'll go 650.
650. What about it, George?
Well, as there are, we're affiliated with them, as we ground share with Cheshunt, and obviously they played at Worthing. I'd say 1,200.
Ali,
because they're top of the league.
952. It's got to be up there, isn't it? It's a big game.
Yeah.
Got to be up there.
So what's the before I give you the answer? What's the average gate at Plymouth?
What is it, like about 450, 400?
Yeah, we're touching 450. I don't think we've gone over 500 yet.
Okay,
still yet to break that 500 barrier.
So Worthing 1,218.
Are you there, George?
You've been tipped off the
Did you
question.
have the count up as you were there?
Listen, no Google, nothing. Nothing's in front of me. My hands are here. Look, as you can see.
Okay, so what about from the same league, and then we'll swap leagues, but what about East Thurrock against Corinthian Casuals? So we'll start with Ali this time.
I have zero idea. I reckon 561.
561. What about it, Mike?
600.
River?
I want to go low again. I've played there a few times, and I can't remember it being a massive crowd. Probably because we were the worst team in town at the time. But I want to go 400.
400. George?
What did you say, Ali?
561, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, 350.
350. And the reason I chose that for is because we've gone from the extreme right the way down the other end.
20 people.
So, it was the lowest crowd in the Isthmian Prem this weekend, and that was 187. So George was the closest again, but just by luck more than anything else.
No, I knew it was going to be low. I knew it was going to be low because again, Corinthians they're not massive. They're not a massive crowd, are they? So I think it was about no less than 200. But yeah, you got it right.
Okay.
Anyway, 2-0, yeah, 2-0.
South Central. So we'll start off with. Let's have a look. Where should we start off with? And 2 seconds. I've gone back into the wrong one. I don't want to go into. That's why I couldn't find the team I was looking for. So we'll see how good he is now. So see if we can make it 3-0. FC Romania versus St. Neots. So this is George's own team. So we'll start off with Mike.
Oh, cheers. 750.
750. Ali?
I don't know. I have no idea. I have no reference points. 300.
300. River?
700.
How many, sorry?
700.
700. George, before you answer the question, would you like 700 at your game?
I would love 500.
Go on then, mate. How many do you reckon? And do you know? You know first.
No, truthfully, I don't even. It's not even in my interest, if you know what I mean, at that particular moment, especially losing 2 games in a row. There was no more than 150.
150. So would you guys like to have another go? Would you know, he said 150. Would you? So Mike and River, would you like another go?
172.
172. Mike?
160.
Yep.
160.
Yeah.
Well, you were almost there, Mike. But if you halved it, you would be perfect. There was actually 80
Jesus.
at FC Romania against St. Neots. And one of the reasons for that would also be is that is quite a journey as well, isn't it, George?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
it's quite a journey for them from St. Neots to come quite a distance. Right. Okay. So let's have a look then. What about Bedford Town against Waltham Abbey? Now the clue there would be that Bedford do bring quite a few when they come away. They do have a decent crowd. They do have ex-Peterborough United players playing in their team. And have you played them yet, George?
Yeah, we have. Yeah, we played him. And Gary's a good friend of mine as well, the manager. So
yeah, and while we're on that, actually, we'll send all the best wishes to Gary's son as well, who broke his ankle in that game against Waltham Abbey at the weekend.
Yeah.
But although they've got a big crowd, Waltham Abbey don't necessarily have a good away following. They have a good away following, but not necessarily in numbers. So let's go, Ali.
3-2-3. I have zero idea in this league.
3-2-3. Okay. George?
Do you want me to go? I thought I was going to go last. All right, because Ali was first. And
go on. I'll let you go first because then it'll give the guys underneath a bit of a clue.
Okay. I don't think there was more than 650 there.
River?
I'll go 500 then.
Mike?
470.
Okay. So, Mike, you were the closest. It was 448 for a 2-2 draw at the weekend. And then we'll go to local derby at the weekend. That Football Web Pages has still got it as 0-0. And it was actually 4-0 to the away side, but it's still saying 0-0 on Football Web Pages and the Southern League website for some weird and wonderful reason. Hertford Town, 0. Harlow Town, 4. How many do we reckon was at that game? So we'll go with, let's go Matt first. Sorry, Mike first, right?
Oh God, what was my correct? I'll go.
I'll give you a clue. Hertford don't necessarily have a massive home crowd,
All right.
but Harlow have a very good following.
280.
River?
200.
George?
250.
Now, Ali, are you going to go lower or higher?
Higher.
No, I want to aim higher because
Higher. Yeah.
can we go higher, right? I'm
Yep.
going to go 3-2-3 again, just for the fun of it, because I don't know what I'm doing anyway.
Did you say 3-2-3?
I did.
Or
Yeah.
300, did you say?
No, 3-2-3.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
If it's
So-
300, I said 300.
No. You are the closest. There was 354 at that game at the weekend. Right, let's just go in and do one from the North Division because it will involve
Can we not mention Barking, if that's all right?
Barking game. So here we go. Ali, just see how close you can get. So we are going with Bury Town against Barking. It was 4-0, surprise, surprise, to Bury.
Yeah.
Now, what I will give you the one clue before we start is, although it's in the North Division, which is step 4, if you didn't know, guys, Bury always are the top average attendance winners every year in that league. Or if not, they're first, they're around that sort of first and second bracket almost every time. So, George, go for it.
I'd say 750.
750?
Yeah.
2 seconds. We've got somebody wanting to come on, but he's just disappeared off my screen. There he is. We'll get him on. It's Mr. South Park. Should come and join us. So, say that one again, George.
700.
700. So, what about you, River?
I'll go 750. Just trying to hang around you.
Mike?
690.
Oh, God.
Now,
That's teamwork. That's teamwork, isn't it? That's
Now
proper
it's
teamwork, isn't it?
Ali's turn. Now, remember, Ali was actually there. So,
David, I want to say 527.
527.
27, yeah.
Got to be it.
I got a feeling on that one because I'm sure I remember them announcing it and going, "Oh wow, a lot of people here."
Look, Martin's turned up. We might as well get Martin to have a go as well while he's here. So, Martin, what we do on this show at the moment now, we just brought it in. He's guessed the attendance. We just have a little bit of a laugh and a joke with the attendance in some of the games in the league. So, the one we're doing at the moment is Bury Town versus Barking in the Isthmian North.
Yep.
And the clue that I gave the guys was that they are normally the highest average attendance, home attendance in that North Division almost every season.
Okay.
So far we've had 700, 750, 690, and 527.
I'll go 495.
And Mike's going to go
495.
Okay. So, considering that she was actually sitting there, I reckon that someone went home just after kickoff because the actual total was 526.
There's lie. I counted them myself. There's one extra in there. Someone didn't pay to get in, mate. That's what happened there.
Right. Just give me two.
I remember sitting there towards the end and it was 4-0 and we was one player sent off, I think, and it went, and the announcement is it's 5-2-6. I remember going, oh God, great. So that's what 500 people seen today.
So we're going to jump now to this game. This will be interesting. Plymouth Parkway against AFC Totton in a nil draw. What do we reckon, George?
I reckon 1100.
I'm just looking at people's faces just to see if I can give it away.
I'm
It's
thinking
close.
I know. 1 second.
Whatever. Ali?
Can I rephrase that? Sorry, I forgot. No, not 11. Let me change it, because if their average attendance is 400 and odd, sorry. Let's say I'd say 475. They must have a few supporters down there, but saying that, Plymouth's quite far.
I was saying that the guys said their average gate was 400, never been over 500. You went straight to 1100.
Yeah, sorry. I was wrong there. But yeah, 475.
Okay, Ali.
213.
213. Now, River, I take it you were playing.
Yeah, I'm no good with this. I'll go 410.
410. Mike, you were watching.
He probably
Yeah.
tweeted.
Yeah,
At the gate.
yeah.
I'm going to say, please don't tell me you was on the gate.
No. 463.
463. And Martin.
Oh, mate, honestly, I'm not got a clue. I'm going to go 520.
520.
Oh no,
So the closest was the captain of the club at 410. It was actually 352.
Yeah.
And last one, and of course everybody knows where I'm going with this one, because the South Park manager is actually on the show. So we will go with the South Park game at the weekend against Chalfont St Peter. So I suppose the clue is Chalfont St Peter don't necessarily bring that many.
And South Park do.
So what do we reckon? And I could honestly say to you, and the clue is, which Martin's, he's probably a bit unfair to because he hasn't been here to listen to all of the other crowds. But the big clue is it's the lowest attendance so far of all the ones that we've done so far. Okay, so there's your clue for 10. Martin, the lowest we had so far was 80, which was FC Romania. So we'll go with the FC Romania assistant manager. How many then, George?
100.
100. Ali?
42. I don't know.
42.
Taking liberties there.
River?
58.
58. Mike?
65.
Do you know first?
Yeah, I know it down to the last, man. I was one of them.
What was the number?
64.
It was 64. And do you know what? We're doing this for 2 weeks. And it's probably about the 10th guest that we've had in that's had their own side on there. And that's the first person that's actually got their attendance correct.
I've only one off, David. That's something.
No,
I've got to watch the whole game and everything else.
Oh dear. But hey, Chalfont St Peter don't bring that many, do they, Mike?
No, they didn't, to be fair. But yeah, we struggled to get people down there since the old guard had gone on and played elsewhere. Club have struggled to get themselves back in and amongst it, but it's something we're working hard at.
Yeah. And it's build on it. I mean, it was years ago when Waltham Abbey used to have the same sort of crowds, and theirs have gone up as well. So it's possible to do. So and it's possible to start climbing. So shall we start tonight? Shall we just have a start tonight? And I mean, I've noticed before we go into the clubs, one thing to sort of bring up as well, and there was, and I'm not sure, we'll go into it in more detail when we start our Friday night show, but there was a Twitter war, wasn't there, Ali, between you and your mate Ems and Radical Referee? Do you want to sort of go into it a little bit and tell us a little bit about what that was all about?
You know me, I'm a perfectly quiet, happy little soul most of the time. I think the argument was about should there be an injury on the pitch? Who decides when it's really bad or not? I think everyone here will probably agree. When you see a really bad injury, everyone knows it's a bad injury. I've unfortunately had a couple this year, Dave. I'm a little bit smart about it, to be honest. I've had two. One was life-threatening. One was near enough life-threatening, unfortunately, this year. And that's about the rest of my career. And the argument is that the ref was saying that he'd basically send off a physio who ran on to save a life. We're not talking ankle sprains, Dave. We're talking about people who are unconscious, possibly dead, serious injuries. Yeah, it got a little bit heated. I think we were both in our camps and refusing to come out of them. But it is what it is, isn't it? You've got to let it go times, right?
So, guys, if you don't know, she's been very modest in what she's saying, because she actually, we could almost go to the extremes and saying she had an incident in one of her games this year where she, in all intents and purposes, saved a guy's life in an ex-pro as well, in Charlie McDonald.
Charlie McDonald, sorry,
yeah. And and if it wasn't for Ali's quick thinking and Ali's sort of physio knowledge, etc., Charlie probably will be in a little bit worse than what he's at the moment. I think he's recovering well from contact with him. I think he's still got a bit of a fair way to go. But I mean, do you want to explain what happened, Ali?
It's actually, Charlie's one was the one we thought he broke his neck, unfortunately, which although technically not life-threatening, it is what we call limb or life-affecting. The one that particularly was unfortunate was the run for the goalkeeper. My player kneed him in the head, which is always terrible when it happens. Immediately unconscious, and his airway wasn't looking great. So I ran on before the referee noticed, dealt with his airway, and he was unconscious for I think 40 minutes while we were waiting for the ambulance to come. Quite a big traumatic brain injury. And you know what? Refs have got a lot to watch, right? Refs, I mean, they get an awful lot of stick, and they will never get stick from me, David, and guys. I will never ever sit here and criticise them. I think I couldn't be a ref. My job's hard enough about watching the whole pitch. So I think that my point for that issue is that, you know what? If I see something bad, don't worry about it. I'll deal with it separately. If it's that bad, we'll get on. We'll deal with it. Similar to the issue in the Premier League the other day with the fan in the Newcastle fan in the stadium, that physios will jump on, do what they got to do, so will doctors. I think it's just a case of that. As I said, I don't think he wanted to admit that actually, should it happen, he'd be quite thankful for someone just coming on and deal with it. I know I would if it was me. It's hard, isn't it? Refs are getting a lot of stick right now, right? They can't do right for doing wrong, and they can't do wrong for doing right sometimes, but I feel like it got a little bit personal to me. I'm not really here to have a personal argument with referee on Twitter, and I might get him one weekend. I don't even know where he refs. Hopefully not my league, because I don't think it wouldn't end well, David.
In all fairness, I didn't know that. I didn't know that even happened to you. I'll be honest. I didn't even see that. About it.
Yeah, that's what we do as physios, right? We're not here. I'm not a star striker. I'm not here to sort of do some CPR and start fist pumping in the air and celebrating with the fans. That's not what we do. We sit on that. We go through every single game as physios, wanting to sit on that bench, not wanting to move any parts of our body. You want to sit there quiet, not talking to anybody, and not be used every single day. Occasionally we get used, right? I don't know. I think the argument was semantics for me. That ultimately something happens once or twice or 3 times in a career. Thankfully, it doesn't happen week in, week out. Although it seems to be getting more common, sadly. I've seen quite a few this season.
I was going to say, you seem to be called into duty quite often.
I have this year. I've been doing this 13 years, never seen anything like it. I've never been used like this before. But I wonder if it's post-COVID. Like players are a little bit off. A little bit unfit maybe, not as quick as they were, a bit sluggish, and then next thing you know, you've got a knee in the face. Never ends well, knees in the face.
Wow. I mean, guys, have you had that situation in any of your games? I mean, maybe down at South Park or Romania or Plymouth?
Yeah, I had it the weekend, just gone. Player had gone through, 2 defenders come across him, and then he goes down holding his face. They all and carrying up the field, and I'm shouting out to the ref, can I get my physio on? I'm being ignored, the linesman's ignored me. So I shouted over to the physio, go on the pitch, I'll take the rap for it. The head injury, I'm ready to take the gamble. You can't mess about. I know it sounds bad, but if it's a tackle, they're going 50-50 and it's a possible break, I can see the ref not wanting to stop it because it's not life-threatening. But head injuries, I mean, you can't gamble. You've just got to go on, and if the player is playing up to it, then he's the one that should be booked, not the physio.
Yeah, I mean, George, you had anything like that at all? Yours?
I'll go back to Ali's situation, what she was talking about. I think on a personal level, I don't want to talk too much about refs because I can't stand them. That's the God's honest truth. And I disagree with a lot. I'm not saying they're all bad or good. We get some good ones, and when after the game, I'll go into the bar, into the clubhouse bit where they are, and I'll have a chat with them. But in general, I disagree with a lot of things that they do and say, like the communication factor, where you want to communicate something to them and it's like, oh no, don't speak to me now, I'm getting on with the game. On Ali's situation, I agree with her. I think we should I think the FA need to change their mindset when it comes to injuries, etc. Like, for instance, there's a lot going on with the rugby players with their heads and about their injuries. And I think physios now have got to be qualified to be in a higher level. So they're the experts, and that's how we always treat them. So when me and Ian speak to the physio, and say Imran, that's Ali's apprentice, we always seek his advice first of all before we make a pre. The old days where we say, "No, you're right, get on with it and play it," that's different. But when it's a serious incident like Charlie's situation, it's a must. And you know what? I think they should be on the pitch straight away. If they're taking the mickey, the physios, and they just run on for the sake of it, that's a different circumstances, and that's for a ref to judge. If it's a serious situation, I think on a personal level, I think they need to be, and I think it's got to be like the rugby rules, where if they see something really bad, they're straight on that pitch. I know the ball's on the floor, and that's the reason why. But if it's a serious situation, then they really can see it, because I've seen it in Imran, who's I think is an unbelievable physio, a great person, a very good person to support when it's the opposition as well. If there's someone injured, he will straight away want to help and support that. And I think that you've got to give them the license. You've got to have that trust for the physios to have that relationship on that factor on an injury front.
Guys, at the bottom, River, you're playing the game. What's your feelings on it?
No, I echo what George has said then. I'm not a big fan of referees. I'm not going to get into it, similar to what he said, but I think Mike could be able to tell you from watching on them, you can't help but scream at them at times in terms of they're unapproachable at times. Completely, I get their job's difficult, can be a nightmare, and like Eddie said, I wouldn't like to do it, but the non-approaching side of it, where they can just. The thing I struggle with them is they can talk to you however you want, and then you cannot say a word, and then when you're a bloke,
exactly,
or like a man's man, you struggle biting your tongue then. But in terms of like the serious injury, like it's just common sense saying that you can tell if someone's play acting or if someone's generally hurt. And I know it's part of the game, so it can be difficult, but I think every player on the pitch knows if someone's had a bad one, and people generally will stop. So I don't think anyone's going to moan if a physio runs on and they're not hurt. Do you know what I mean? You better to be safe than sorry.
I saw something on the gun to work this morning, and I heard somebody on there talking this morning on the radio this morning that they said that they felt that when managers, and it'd be interesting to get sort of Martin and George's opinion on this, when managers and that start having a go at referees, etc., that what should happen is that if they get like a yellow card or red card or something along those sort of lines, that automatically puts that manager onto a referee's course. So they actually put them onto a referee's course so they can understand the rules, and they understand the rules 100%. And somebody was on there actually saying that they think that that's what they should be brought in at our level at league football, to try and stop the abuse to referees, to stop the referees from walking away.
You want the referee's idea, was it?
No, it wasn't. It was actually a manager of a team.
It takes over the game, doesn't it? Like, I struggle watching the Prem and stuff now. I just find it takes over the whole of football for me, referees. And I've get the more power they've got to have, and they can get abused. Don't get me wrong, but I think every player, our manager, and anyone in the stand gets abused. It's football. Like, we're all dog and duck, really. Let's be honest. And that is the way it is. But in terms of, I don't think they cope with it very well. In terms of the way they come back and certain things they can say under their breath or whatever, and then it just triggers you because you cannot do a thing without getting sent off. No one's going to fancy a referee's course, so let's be honest.
But would that stop the abuse to the referee if they knew
No.
that on the course?
No. People just won't be turning up to it, would they? No one would be managing, put it that way, or playing.
I mean, my problem with it is, right, yes, we should respect them, right? But it's two ways. They don't respect managers. They don't respect the pressure that managers are under, or players. You know, players lose their positions to other players if they're not performing, and some depend on having an aggressive approach to a game. Might go harder than the average player. But with what you get with referees nowadays is, like they just said, is the way to communicate. They're so dismissive. It's their way, and that's it. You shut up and get on with it. If you've got something to say, you wait till after the game. By then, it's gone. That part of the game's gone. So getting me on a management course ain't happening at all. I mean, we're not paid. Some of us are not paid anyway. So I'm not gonna free up my spare time. I'm gonna tell my wife, yeah, I've got to shoot off now, go and do a ref course. That ain't gonna happen. But it's like, we hold players accountable and managers accountable, and people talking about holding physios accountable for running onto pitches and not doing this, that, and the other. Referees need to be held accountable. There's enough games recorded now and enough mistakes shown on these recordings that they should be brought up by the FA. They're the ones that are being paid, and having to explain themselves.
Well, I mean, literally, I do all these sort of video and stuff and all that for Harlow, and I've heard fans there saying, look, referees in your local area, you might get that same referee 3 or 4 times in a season or in those sort of lines, and they remember things from the game previously. If a fan's called them this or a manager's called them that, do you feel that that's the case as well? I mean, all of you would know that, including Ali as well. Do you actually think that a referee actually does remember if, say for instance, I don't know, during the game, River goes up to him and calls him something that, he got the gist of or whatever else. Do you think he remembers that? And then if River then was to go anywhere near him, straight away a card would be coming out, or the crowd could be a bit hostile to him, and all of a sudden then he's going to be a bit hostile towards that home side?
I think you've got your go on. Sorry.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a mixed bag. I think that it can go positively and negatively. I think if you've got refs that know your teams and they know obviously I do Sunday League as well, and we see the same refs week in, week out. And some of them have got a really good relationship with the boys, and they have a chat with them before the game, outline what they want. They're fair. They're good talkers. John in our league, is amazing. We had him at the weekend, and I can't think highly enough of him. But a lot of it's around his communication. He sets out ground rules before the game starts. He knows the boys on first name terms. He goes, "Oh, come on now, George, calm down a bit. We all know it's getting a bit heated." I think a lot of it is about understanding each other's roles. Like the same way, if a man doesn't understand my role as a physio, my job's 1,000,000% harder, because if you don't understand me, then I'm fighting a war before we even started doing anything else. I think what would be probably a lot better for me is that rather than doing courses and that, would be to look at, can refs come into clubs before the season starts and explain the new rules to the physio, to the management team, to the players. Say, look, there's these new rules coming in from the FA this year. So, for example, you can't take off the top and celebrate because you're going to get yellow cards. That way, it kind of outlines what's going on for the rest of the season, and you build a rapport. I think that sometimes it is about communication. I think that it is good to have a mix of refs, have different people coming in, and that way there's no risk of there being, oh, it's him again, he's going to book me as soon as I do anything else. It's hard, isn't it, though? I think there's no easy answer to this question. I think a lot of refs get abused quite terribly on Sundays, particularly in youth setups, which is horrible. We've got kids screaming at refs, and sometimes under 18-year-old refs getting a lot of abuse, and that's not on. Not that anyone deserves abuse, It's hard, isn't it?
Can I mention something, Ali?
Of course.
Can I mention something on that factor of so now Martin, I'll have a match with him and we lose, or whatever the circumstance, and we get into an argument on the line. I'm not going to be the same with him the next game.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you understand? So
yeah.
I'm not saying I would with Martin because he's a big lad and I'm not going to get in an argument with him. But what I'm saying to you, I'm sure they've got a certain grudge, and I won't even go into the racism bit because that's another side of the story, and that's not for this forum at the moment. But I think certain refs have got certain issues with players, managers, etc., and they're always going to be a little bit funny. But can I just mention what I wanted to, the real thing? Hertfordshire FA, when I first went into Step 6 football, They do at the beginning of the season where the referees and the managers and the captains sit together and they talk about how they're going to move forward and what rules they're going to be and fines, etc. and what's the reason why the sin bins. It was something to do with sin. But it was really good because what we did was we mixed with other teams, we mixed with the referees, we sat down, had a drink with them, some food. It was a sociable thing. It was really nice for about an hour and a half. It was only a half an hour, a 40-minute speech, but the rest of the time was communicating together. So if I was to say that factor, you're right, Martin, when you say I'm not going to know because I've got a yellow card or I've got a red card. I'm never going to go. No money in the world. I don't want to go. But I will say it'd be good at the beginning of the season if rules, because I know there's some rules being invented the last couple of years with the bouncing of the ball, etc., and playing to play, etc. So there's a few rules that I didn't even know, and then all of a sudden, no, that's the new rules the ref went. So I think personally, it will be good for us to, at the beginning of the season, sit down with the whole of the league at one particular place, and we all have a general chat, like obviously what we're doing now.
That's exactly right, George. I think it's all about opening up those gateways, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So, like, players have got really valid reasons, and as River said, if you're talking to a referee, to shut up. I've heard this.
Exactly.
Shut up. That's quite incendiary to a player. So
yeah,
who's full of adrenaline, who's full of the game, and he may be losing 1-0. Maybe worried about losing his shirt as well as that. And you tend to shut up. Of course, you're going to get a negative reaction from him. So maybe it's a little bit of that discussion if you have with players and referees in a non running around kicking show kind of format.
Yeah, exactly.
I completely agree, George, but it's a really good idea.
I mean, I'm not going to sit here and completely coat them. This year's probably been the best year I've seen the referees, and it's no reflection to our results or anything like that, but they've communicated. I think that's the key part, is how they communicate with us. Now, if you stop the game and pull me aside rather than, like you say, shouting off, sort your box out or sort your dugout out or all the rest of it, you get a better reaction out of me. I just feel like what the FA do, or the local county FA do, is this whole scoring of the dugouts. You're on a, is it like this scoring that they're doing? And if you foul, you pay for the balls and you pay for the bibs. Why is it not the other way around? When they're being assessed and they have a nightmare. So my Litton's having a little run around here. When the referee has a nightmare, why are they not being sure or lose their fee or anything like that? And I mean, don't get me wrong, like I say, go back to, I said, out of 15 or so games I've had, I probably had 9 good referees. It's been better than it has been worse.
But do you not see as well? I mean, I watch a lot of the ladies' football on there, and there's a referee that referees in the WSL that was refereeing in the Isthmian leagues and Southern leagues and that for a period of time and has done really well for herself. Now UEFA referee and that, and she was the referee in the game between I think it was, off the top of my head, I think it was Man City and Tottenham, when there was the ghost goal that went off an arm or whatever. It was right at the end of the game, and basically, they go on there and they say, oh, you shouldn't abuse referees and you shouldn't do that, shouldn't do that. But then they go on there and absolutely, hang her out to dry because of a mistake that she, possibly wasn't a mistake. They see it as a mistake, but she's in that situation where she might not have seen the situation. They've got cameras and God knows what else that they can all see what's going on that sort of side of it. So do you think sometimes people say, oh, don't do something, and they end up going and doing it themselves as such, with having a go at the refs? Mike?
I see it. The thing is, I'm a bit like yourself, where I film the games and I've got a chance to look back and what River said earlier about the ref, ignoring you, they ignore the management, the box and players for a large period of time throughout the game. And I just feel it definitely needs to change. I do think it is a big case of us and them still, and it should be more together. And I go to the points which George said about the start of the season. It isn't going to change overnight, and I feel for the managers because it's their passion, it's their job. I'm just there filming the game, but for players and for management, for everyone involved, something needs to be done, I think, sooner rather than later. It would just enhance the non-league game, especially.
Does everybody agree?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
it was a question I was going to ask, and I must admit it just popped straight at me head, and it just shows you what type of day it's been so far today. But I mean, if we start having a look at sort of your clubs, and if you guys don't mind, we'll start with the club that's furthest away from me, which will be Plymouth. And I mean, talk to us, guys, a little bit about the club. Tell us a little bit about behind the scenes of the club, and the division you're in, and et cetera, and some of the players, et cetera, in your club. So just give us what's going on down at Plymouth.
Go on, Mike.
I'll give you the short version. So particularly about 5 years ago, we got a new chairman come in to work alongside the vice chairman, Jez Baggett, at the club, Mark Russell. So he came in. We were in what step are we in now? We're step 4.
That's why I let you take it away. Go on.
We were in step 6. We were in the Southwest Peninsula League, and he had a vision to get us into the Southern League South within 5 years. Gain promotion within the first year under the new manager Lee Hobbs, and then the Western League, the first full season in the Western League, step 5. We came second, 2 points behind Willand, who went up. And it was a fantastic season. And then the following season, I think we were well placed just after Christmas. I think we were second with 5 games to go, and obviously COVID took control of that. And then last season we went again. I think we only played 10 games, but luckily we were fortunate because we were the benefits of this upward movement with the restructure. But I think we are one of the highest points per game over the 2 seasons from across the country. So I know I'm biased, but I think it was thoroughly deserved. And now we've moved into this division. We've got some great players, i.e. River, and we got a few players that have come from the Southern League as well. And we've had players who have been there since the start of this journey, for the likes of people like the keeper Kyle Moore, and a couple of defenders, Ryan Lane, midfielders Billy Palfrey. The list goes on, and we've held our own in this division. We started brilliantly this season. It's a new challenge for us. We're still learning our way. We had a dodgy October where, including we were 3-0 up at Melksham and they beat us 4-3. But we've had some great results since then. We've beat Southern League Premier sides, Merthyr and Salisbury, and arguably Salisbury was our best performance of the season. We beat them 4-0. So yeah, we're going in the right direction. There's still a long way to go, but that's the shortened version of a really a fantastic and hard work in 5 years.
And I bet Mr. Steve Claridge was not happy.
Never is he?
No, he never is. Yeah. So he wasn't happy. He kept his players in the changing room for about 45 minutes after the game, and no, but that was a special day. There was a goal one of our midfielders scored from the halfway line, which you don't see all the time. And I caught it on. I don't catch many goals on camera, but I luckily caught that one on camera. And it was just a goal from the halfway line to beat a team like that 4-0 at home. Yeah, it was. It's crazy to think where we were 5 years ago to where we are today.
I mean, I was looking at your fixtures, and I must admit, I go back to a game on the 21st of August because the name of the team you played just I thought was fantastic. It's probably one of the best named clubs I think I've ever seen. And 21st of August, 3-1 win in the FA Cup against Mousehole.
It's coming.
Yeah, Riv scored in that game.
That
So
is a different sort of. You're closer to France. It is miles down.
Is it really? Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Right.
like Penzance, right at the very end.
yeah, if you take a coach, you can't even get to their ground. You have to walk like 500 yards to get to their ground. It's
So I mean, talk us through though. I mean, from a player's point of view, I mean, what's the club like? I mean, are you new to the club this year, or?
I've always had affiliations with the club. Like my brother and all that. I've always knew every squad. But obviously, when I was younger, I stayed away from the level they were at the time. Obviously, I had aspirations of playing higher. And me and my sort of generation played for like your Trurrills and your Tivertons and in the Conference South or the Southern Prem or whatever it is, up until partway got to a level. And like Mark took over and they were taking the club a little bit further and the levels were getting better. So I joined the club. I've always played pre-season for him and out there. Lisa was like a mate of mine, so I've always helped out. And then I joined them from Tiverton 2 years ago. So the one where before COVID in between. So obviously I only played, say, 13 games until the season got cut. And then we went back into it this year. Had an up down start, and then I've got injured and we won 5 in a row. So they haven't done me any favours, but in all honesty, the boys have been brilliant. The ground, since I've watched games there for 15 odd year, and the ground now is, I don't think you'll find many better in non-league football. The money that's been pumped into it, and Truro ground sharing with it, so they had to improve it for their level of football. The pitch, obviously, there's a lot of games on it at the minute, but the thing is with Plymouth Argyle, you had no other club in Plymouth that were at a good sort of level. Everything was the local sort of league, so it's only going to attract the best sort of footballers in Plymouth, because no one wants to travel an hour and a half if they don't need to, like, especially when they have kids and families and stuff and work commitments. So yeah, the club over the last 5 years, I've watched it grow in close mates, and then over the last 2 years, it's just gone on, and I think it'll keep going on.
So Truro ground share with you at the moment? They
ground share, yeah. So every other Saturday, obviously they're there, but a lot of my friends are there, so they're all Plymouth based. There ain't many lads at Truro from Truro, the Plymouth or Exeter, so it suits them, and it suits every other team travelling down, so they can knock an hour and a half off their trip.
Well, that's what we always said. And we laugh and joke, Martin, that if we get into the League Cup, we know what we don't want is a Tuesday night away to Truro. So we don't want Plymouth either away in the League Cup either. But if you're still in it, but is it a grass pitch or is it a 3G pitch?
Grass pitch.
Grass.
Yeah, which is better. I mean, I couldn't.
I was waiting to see what you was going to say. Whether you was going to say you prefer.
I've got a body of a 40-year-old bloke, so my back would be in tatters, and I just don't think it's football as such. I don't know, for whatever reason, I've never been a big fan of it.
So, just so you know, George plays. George trains on 3G. Harlow have got 3G. Barking have got 3G. South Park, mine.
Planning for 3G at the moment, yeah.
So yeah,
it's definitely getting more and more common, ain't it? Because more games are on that. Our pitch, they pumped a lot of money into it, and the state of it already with the 2 games on it is like it never happened. So I understand it, but as a footballer's point of view, and the lads were probably the same when they were playing, I'd much rather play on a grass pitch.
But is there anything there though, Mike? To go forward, maybe 3Gs that in Mark's thinking. I mean, River was just saying then it was only sort of Plymouth, Argyle as such around that sort of area. Would that be a great catchment area for Plymouth, Parkway, if they managed to get a 3G surface that they could actually cherry pick some the local youth as such a bit more, and also, a bit of a money grabber as well for the club?
Yeah, it is. I think I'm not sure, about 2 years ago, Plymouth Argyle Academy built a state-of-the-art 4G pitch about 500 yards up the road, so there is one there. I think when pre-season, when the ground got rejuvenated, the pitch, I think there was a lot of money spent on the pitch, so I don't think there's any plans for a 4G as such. And just to go back to River's point, we had a FA Vaz run last season, and when football returned, it was only the FA Vaz that returned. And we had to go to the Devon FA, who had 4G. And it just, I don't know, the boys, especially us, I think we played Flackwell Heath, and I think they were used to 4G. We just didn't turn up on the day because I don't think we were properly used to it. They beat us 5-2. So in Plymouth, there is a lot of 4G pitches about, but I don't think Blytheville Park will be going 4G anytime soon.
So, River, you said you played for Truro as well?
Yeah.
Because the connection what we've got up this end with Truro is that my wife's best friend, her brother used to be the manager down at Truro.
Oh, right.
Lee Hodges.
Yeah, Hodgie was my manager. Yeah.
So he was his sister. He's like best friends with my wife, and was the tutor for my daughter as well, for my oldest daughter. So
Yeah,
it was one of those ones you always kept her free to try and see what was going on with the results. But I suppose with Truro being there as well, does that sort of give you a sort of a carrot to try and sort of, because they're in step 3, aren't they?
Yeah.
Truro. So does that give you that sort of carrot to try and sort of, you know, get above them as such because they're playing there?
Yeah, it does. But like I said, a lot of them, you're there. A lot of them are your friends. They're close mates of yours, and the majority of, you know what it's like with football. For an extra tenner, people move around. So the majority of people have played there on our side. Like, so it is that way you want to get above. But they're a strong outfit. They haven't started the season well, but they're very strong for that sort of level, and they've got a good group of players. It should be. They're probably underachieving for what they are. But I'm sure they'll go on, and they're more of a. They've always been Conference South up until the last 2 years, and they've suffered similar fate to us with the COVID and the leagues being cut. So no doubt they'll be chasing, and obviously if we're chasing them, we're always going to do well.
I suppose you must have feel a bit lucky that you've got Hampton and Richmond Borough at home and not away.
Yeah, I've actually played Hampton probably more than what I have anyone else, because we managed to get them in the playoffs a few years in a row. But I think when you get to this stage in the cup, you just want a nice like conference side. Then the last thing you want is a Conference South side at home. It's just if you beat them, it's lovely, but you'd much rather a nice conference side away, and just if you go out, you go out then.
All I will say is their manager is an absolute diamond of a guy.
Is he?
He's a really, really lovely guy, Gary. He's a nice bloke, but yeah, I don't think he'll be too pleased with having to come down to you. But
they never are. I'd expect their best players probably won't. What normally happens. That's why we always get the results at home.
Yeah. But I mean, Cinderford though. I mean, tomorrow night. I mean, is that a winnable game as such for you guys?
Oh, go on, Riv.
Go on, mate. Go
on. I think they're the first team in about. I think we played first, second, and third in our past 3 league games, and we won 2 and lost 1. So I think they're sitting around the bottom 5. We've been terrible on the road the past couple of months. I don't think we've won a league game since August in the league. I might be wrong, but it can't be any later than that. So tomorrow night's a big game. It's a winnable game, but it's going to be in the players' head that they haven't won away from home. So it'll be a good game to get 3 points on the road and get confidence back that we can perform on the road. So yeah, big game, winnable but big.
So I'm going to ask you a question now, and you can both say pass to this if need to, and I won't put any pressure on you to give me an answer to this. But and I'm not sure if it was the game was involving your team or not. So that's why I'm saying you got the option of saying pass if you want to. Take you back to the 28th of September, an away trip. What's it like? And after what we've seen across social media, etc., what's it like going to Bristol Manor Farm?
I've only ever played there once, and they have quite a close. They've always seemed to play pre-season, like haven't they? When I've always watched the games.
Yeah.
And the pitching is actually all right, and the manager's a bit of a hothead. But like you say, when it's Bristol, you know a few of their lads as well. And you're always in for a rough ride. But I think it's a little bit different when we play them, because I think our manager and their manager get along a little bit more than others. So it's not as hostile as what it might be with other sides going there.
Yeah, I mean, why I asked that, because we saw what happened on social. I mean, do you think managers in that situation nowadays, because of cameras and stuff like that, get a bad rep from that sort of stuff, rather than years ago when there was no one sitting there with a mobile phone flashing in someone's face? I mean, Martin as well. I mean, do you, as a manager, I mean, something you feel like, and as a player in River as well, and George, is it something you feel you've got to be really careful that someone could, if you step out of line one single little bit, someone's got a mobile phone filming you, and next minute it's all over Facebook and Twitter?
Oh yeah, you and going back to the way we were talking about referees earlier, I ain't a big fan at all, and you can lose your mind. I don't know the situation that caused that, I haven't got a clue, but that there didn't look, whether the phones come out or not, that didn't look great regardless of what happened. It's kind of done then. I know you can, and I don't know Lee, but I think it's Lachette. I don't know him to pass comment, but stuff like that just don't help what we're saying about referees. It felt like it makes them come out looking absolutely like smelling the roses when you've got that film for that long. But at the same time, I don't know the situation or what it was.
Oh yeah, no. I'm just saying. I mean, in that situation, no. I mean, I've seen it, recently with a game that we played, and I was filming, and something happened, and what happened in our game had happened in the visiting team's game the week before, etc., as well. And have you got to be really, really careful as managers, and do you speak to your players as well to say to them, look, when you're out there, is it something that comes up in any time whatsoever that if something does happen, that there could be Joe Bloggs in the crowd with a mobile phone, and before you know what's going on, it's all over social media? I mean, Martin, is that something that ever comes into your mind with it?
No, I'm sure if you see what I'm like on Twitter, I don't give it a second thought, if I'm honest with you. I don't know the incident that we're referring to, but no, I mean, I need some fans at the ground first before I worry about cameras. But yeah, no, it's not anything I think about. It's probably something I should think about. But no, I don't, and I don't speak to the players about it. Listen, I've got a young bunch of boys, well behaved. They're in the game at this level because they want to push on higher and can play higher. So I mean, getting involved in mass brawls or anything like that, it's not this group of lads. Previous groups I've had, the older lads, yeah, it probably would have happened, and I'll probably be one of the ones that are trying to calm it down because I know what they're capable of. But yeah, going back a couple of years, I was at Three Bridges as the manager. And we had a player confronted by a fan from Dulwich Hamlet who were supporting this other Sussex side because they had a game away. So they had similar political views. So they followed them basically. What happened was this fan had jumped on and started putting his camera to one of the players' faces. So he snatched the phone from the fan's hands to get it away. That fan then grabbed him in a headlock, and he ended up knocking the fan out. It sort of went mental. But luckily, that was the only phone that was being used to film. I mean, the club ended up having to release the player because of what happened and blah blah. But yeah, without waffling on too much, no, I don't think about a camera.
So Mike, I mean, and River, I mean, what is the expectations for Plymouth this year? I mean, what are you expecting from the club? We were looking at, because you've just come up, I mean, are you looking at staying up? Is that the plan, or is it sort of mid-table? Is it playoffs? I mean, or automatic? I mean, what is from the club itself? I mean, what is, what do you think is the actual end game for Plymouth this season?
I think for the first time in a long time, there isn't an expectation. Obviously, when you're the new club and you're pumping in a little bit of money, and everyone really wants to, and our local football want you to lose, it gets like that. But for the first time, they're playing at the highest level the club's ever been at, and playing against, like, I don't know the league at all. Played against a couple of, and neither do the lads. Or you just tried doing you and looking. So whereas every other year it's win, and it's been cut short, and we've had to win leagues, and we've got to. I think this year we've got our own sort of like targets. I think we should be in playoffs. I think a lot of the lads do, but if we don't do that, I don't think it's a disaster, or it'd be frowned upon. But yeah, we're definitely aiming for top half of the table.
Yeah, I think as a obviously I do the social media, and I'm doing a documentary on the club this year, which is going to be a great thing to do. But as a fan, first and foremost, I looked at it as a case of it's a free hit for the first time the club's had in 5 years. The amount of pressure on the management, the players to win the Peninsula, then to win the Western League, and to not lose. Well, we went for 5 years. I think you could count the defeats on both hands, and now we lose 4 games on the spin, or we've lost 8-9 games this season. But I got to look at the season from now, and we've beaten some great teams. All the teams up and amongst the top positions so far. We've lost against a few we shouldn't have. Playoffs is not out of the question. I would have been happy with a top 10, but I know the players in the squad. I know how good they are, and it isn't just the 1 to 11; it's the 1 to 17, 18. They've all got something to give, and it's a squad that takes you up. So I really think, come the last few weeks of the season, we'll be there or thereabouts for a playoff spot.
So I mean,
No pressure, Riv.
So with Plymouth, though, I mean, are you the club that people don't want to come and visit on a Tuesday night? I mean, are you the furthest that way? Because people always talk about Truro. So I mean, if Truro are playing at your ground, are you the sort of the club that is the furthest south in your league? And if so, I mean, what is your biggest journey that you have to do?
Well, you say clubs don't want to visit us. We got to visit the other 19, 18 clubs. We went home the other night. We got to go to Cinderford tomorrow. I think the biggest one, and our FA trophy has made it going to be Winchester on a Tuesday night, and that's we're going to have to leave a day before or something, I think, because. But I mean, I just filmed the game and I'm knackered. The next day, so for River and the players actually playing it and getting back and trying to be up for work, and I don't know how they do it. It's Tuesdays, midweeks are horrible.
And what we're talking about miles wise from you to Winchester?
No, it's written down somewhere. I'm not sure. It'll be
4 hours. It's a road. It's not motorway. So you're going up on a coach, and like you say, the thing I think what the lads get through is a lot of them played at different levels and had to travel the other side of London every other week. So it's 5-6 hours. You're leaving at 7:30 and getting home at midnight, and that was just a norm. So when you're doing 2 hours, you're happy with that. But every like Mike said, every away trip we have is you're buzzing if it's under an hour and a half. Do you know what I mean? And you're not bothered by that. You're home by 9 o'clock. You've got a little bit of a night then. But when obviously to the London sort of sides, I can't imagine your travelling's. It's probably an hour, is it? Every other week, maybe.
Ours is. I think ours is probably about 3. It's about 3 hours to some of them. I think when we go up to sort of past Bath and all that sort of area, up that area, when we have to go up there for the likes of St Neots and a few of the others that are up there, Kidlington and all these type of places that we've got to go to up there. And it is a little bit weird when, I don't know how Martin feels about this, where the changes in the leagues and to make life a little bit easier, there is a longer travelling now, I think, from going into the south for us than what there was if we'd have been in the Isthmian North this year. We're looking at Barking, Canby Island, Averley, Romford, really, really close to where we are. And we've jumped over with the likes of FC Romania, with the likes of Hertford Town, where there is a quite a distance to actually travel from one end to the other. So we're sort of on that cusp of being quite close if we was in the Isthmian North. But of course, the Isthmian League had what we called the Jigsaw League, which, if I'm right in saying, I think South Park were in last year. I don't know if they're still in it this year in the Central.
Yeah, still in that one.
And the Central League we always used to call the Jigsaw League because it was almost right. Well, there's the northern teams, there's the southern teams, and anybody that's left just gets thrown into the one in the middle. Do you know what I mean? And it was just really weird. All of a sudden, instead of going left on the motorway, he was going right on the motorway almost every single week. It was a crazy little league. But now that seems to settle down quite a bit. Would you have said, mine?
Yeah, I mean, they're still thrown in some naughty ones. So I was under the impression, because I've managed in the South East, which covers Sussex and Essex, Sussex and Kent, and then a little bit of like the London sides, Whiteleaf and that. Then I thought the South East, or South Central rather, was those that could get on and off the M25. But I'm now down at Marlow, Basingstoke, Bracknell. And I mean, if you look at the map, it doesn't look too far, but they're taking me from our club. I don't live by the club, but if we're going from the club, you're looking at an hour and a half on a Saturday. I mean, it ain't terrible, but yeah, it's not ideal. You'd like to be travelling like an hour there, an hour back, but
what
like the River said,
what Martin's not telling you is at one of his games that he has to go to this year, he has to get on a plane. That's how far away it is.
Forgot about him. Yeah, so Guernsey, I was unfortunate enough to have to manage against them. So I've gone over there twice already as a Whiteleaf assistant manager, Three Bridges manager, and I have to go and do it now as a South Park manager. I won't say what happens when you go over there because I might jinx myself, but yeah, it hasn't been horrible going over there.
So if you don't know what we're talking about, guys, we're talking about Guernsey.
Guernsey,
so
yeah.
they have to go to Guernsey, of course, on as well. Which again is a bit like what you said. Yes, okay, South Park have to go to Guernsey, but Guernsey have 19 games where they're on a plane going the other way.
Well, they should be on a plane going to France because they're closer to France. I've said this all. They should go into a French non-league side, French non-league league.
But of course, if all goes to plan, you could end up having to do that twice next year, couldn't you? Because Jersey Bulls could be coming up, and all of a sudden you're fighting Jersey as well. So it could be quite interesting.
Who funds that? Does the club pay for that?
The Guernsey actually play for a certain amount of the players, and I think it's about 20, 25. Is it something like that? They actually pay for you to go over to them.
So it's a lot.
Sometimes, which is quite nice.
Historically, so when they was working their way up from step 6, step 5, and when it was in step 4, actually, they'd pay for your flight and a night over. So you could choose to fly over the night before, stay, prep yourself for the game, or you'd fly over on a Saturday morning, stay and go home on a Sunday. I won't say what club it was, but as a club and players misbehaved themselves, and on the plane misbehaved themselves with the stewardesses, and that sort of put a stop to it. Those players got banned, I think, from the airline as well. So only one airline in and out. But it used to be good. He was almost like a celebrity for the night, for the weekend. But, it's
lovely hotel as well.
Yeah, I mean, they look after you when you go over there. The club are brilliant when they look after you. But it's just a pain. I've got to go over there on Easter Monday. I've not told my wife yet. But yeah.
But also as well, the actual chairman of the club is Matt Letizier's brother as well.
Yeah.
So Mark Letizier is actually, and he's a lovely, lovely man. He's a really, really nice man. And the whole club is. I mean, when you go over there, I mean, the crowds are what 800, aren't they? Something around that sort of area.
1,000.
Yeah. He's a really good day. I've never been myself. I know Keith's been a few times, and shall we say we'll leave it there with Keith because I don't think he enjoys it too much going over there. But it is, I'd love to go over there, and it'd be fantastic to go over there one day. But we're hoping Harlow might go over there, and then Harlow get moved out to South Central, and Guernsey get moved in, and then so we missed it. So we don't get that journey. But if we move on, guys, then to South Park, and Martin, tell us a little bit about South Park. How long you've been there? Tell us a little bit about the club.
So in recent years, I'd say last couple of years, not had much success. Bob the Bat at the bottom of the league. I've come in 2 years to the month. Not completed a full season yet. The first season got us to March. My last game was away at Barking. Went to and then restarted last season and stopped. And then now started again. But probably one of the smaller clubs, I'd say, in the league. And some would say, looking at the league, that we're punching well above our weight. But me knowing the squad, I think they're doing the job they should be doing. So even watching, we're not allowed to relax as we've been doing. But historically they've had some good runs in the cups. Had a good run in the trophy. Went away at Tranmere. They've sort of built up a bit of an allegiance with Tranmere, so you get a lot of followers from Tranmere results and stuff like that. It's quite nice to see on Twitter. Going back to the 3G, we've had Steve Robb, treasurer, board member, standing chairman when Mickey weren't too well, has worked tirelessly for the last couple of years trying to sort out this 3G, which hopefully, fingers crossed for the club and the local community, goes down at the end of the season. I'm with River as a player. When I played, it was nice playing it would zip about and you wouldn't have a training session called off or a game called off. You go and play 10, 15, 20 games on it, and you'll feel it in the lower backs and your knees and that. But I mean, for these younger players and for communities, I think they are key. They're brilliant. They're brilliant income for clubs. And I'm hoping, it all goes to plan.
Well, just one question before we move on with South Park. Just what you brought that up with the 3Gs and stuff, and about your knees and etc. While we've got a physio on here, I just want to ask the question, because for me, I've always been extremely pro the 3G. I've always have been. I've never had to play on it, but the fact of the matter is, for me, it was always a massive plus point. Harlow, one of the first teams in the Eastern League to have it put down. So for me, it was always a great thing. But a lot of people say to me, and this is why I'm firing this at Ali more than anybody else, is that there's more injuries on 3G than there is on grass. And yet we had a season where we had 3, I think, ACL injuries at Harlow, and every single one of those ACL injuries was on grass and not on the 3G. So I was just curious, as now you're at Barking, coming from, say, like Cray on grass, and then from them.
Cray was 3G as well.
Cray was 3G on Bromley's ground, yeah.
It was that lovely brand new Bromley one. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, but so what is the difference, though? I mean, do you feel that there is more injuries on 3G than actually on grass, or the other way around?
A lot of it's anecdotal. I think a lot of it, you haven't got evidences, because 3G, 4G, only these services are new. I remember when AstroTurf was the big one. Remember that came out? I was like, this is great, and look at that now. Now, honestly, AstroTurf is the devil's creation, in my personal opinion, as a physio. But I think it depends on how well the 3G or 4G is maintained. A brand new one is lovely. One that's perhaps a little bit past the not so great on the old knees. I think you get different injuries. I think that in terms of grass, if you've got a poorly maintained, people met them, right, where the grass is a bit long and it's muddy and there's a boggy bit in the middle and there's a turf is going over here. I do Sunday League. Sometimes it's atrocious. And I fear for them when they've not even gone on the pitch. So I think you get different kinds of injuries. I'm quite pro 4G. I think that on a well-maintained pitch, I think it's a better run for the ball. I think players adapt to it quite well. I mean, I'm not saying players who are a little bit perhaps over that side of the hill have a bit more of a problem on it. But with the right training and the right preventative measures and strengthening and, dare I say, the right conditioning for it, people tend to get over it quite well. I think it's new, so you won't quite know maybe for a few years what the problems are. But give me that over like Hackney Marshes every day of the week, personally. Honestly.
Yeah, I don't want you to think that I'm against it. I am pro it. I think it's definitely the way forward, especially with our weather and the state of grass pitches, especially ours, at best. And if a club can get it in, it's cheaper in the long run, and again, it makes money for the club. But I think if you think back to the days when White put theirs down, Harlow put theirs down, technology has moved on. So we've got better 3G being put down, shock absorb stuff being put down underneath the 3G rather. So yeah, I'm pro it, and I can't wait for it to go down for the club.
Yeah.
In saying that, I'll be honest, at my local club, and my local club's Waltham Abbey, and their pitch, and I'll be honest, when I was youth chairman down there, their pitch used to be a dust bowl. It just used to be dust. There was nothing else there. It was just like, literally just a sawdust base, and all the rest. It used to be horrendous. But if you actually go and look at their pitch now, and you have to go over the M25 bridge, and you can look left and see into their ground, the pitch, if you was a guessing man, you would say that their pitch was 3G, because their pitch now is absolutely incredible. I mean,
it's like Sutton United's pitch.
Yeah, it's amazing grass pitch. It's a grass pitch, but you would look at it and say it's 3G. But whoever maintains that and what they've done over there now at Waltham Abbey is absolutely incredible, because that pitch is just sensational now compared to what you remember in the old days. But I mean, yourself, though, talk to us a little bit about the club, Mahon. Tell us a little bit more about South Park itself as a club. So
we're located over in Reigate, Surrey, sandwiched between Leatherhead, Merstham, Dorking. So big clubs around us. So yeah, I mean, trying to recruit local players, fall from the queue to get the best. Unlike you said earlier with Plymouth being, on their own sort of thing, other than Plymouth Argyle. Yeah, so the club in itself, made up of myself, assistant manager Justin Fevrier, has been a godsend, to be honest with you. I worked with him briefly when he was down at Lewisham, and got him in with me when I got the job at South Park. We have Oliver Saunders, my first team coach. Again, godsend, great contacts within the programme, where he coaches AFC Wimbledon, does a programme with them. And then we've got Gareth Newton, our goalkeeper coach. Another godsend. There's not many of them at this level, goalkeeper coaches. So, I mean, it's brilliant for attracting keepers. It's a selling point. Yeah, plans pre-season. So plans pre-season going forward, the club is all about survival. We can't go into the following season with a 3G plan at step 5, stay in the league, budget ain't the best. Can we do it? So yeah, I weren't going to turn it down. And we've plugged the way. But we sort of set up a presentation slideshow to the players, what we're about, a bit about the club's history, what they've achieved in the past, but ultimately what we want to do going forward and our objectives. So whilst I had the ball telling me survival, me being an ex-player and being super competitive, I was like, no, I'm not selling that to the players. So it was a case of telling the players that we want to and can finish top 8 and push for playoffs. And I know a lot of people looking on this will be laughing their heads off because they know what the budget's like down at South Park, and they know what they've been like in the previous, I don't know, in the last 4 or 5 years. Hasn't been great. Rolled on November. I think we lost 2, drawn 2, and won 6 in the last 10. I'm on a bit of a run at the minute. But I'm not silly enough to know that, it can change literally like that. And I could be facing four defeats on the bounce. It happened to me a couple of years, 3 years ago? When I was at Three Bridges, I went unbeaten in November, got manager of the month. Then turn of the year, it was away at Cray actually. We lost 1-0 in like the 96th minute, and then I went on a 10 game without a win. So look, I tell the boys all the time, you got to ride the wave and enjoy it whilst there. But yeah, little South Park punching well above their weight, and hopefully, who knows, finish top half and build on from there.
Well, I'm just looking at the table now, sitting in 9th. Play 13, and you've got 21 points, with only 2 points off the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I've had loads of people ringing me, other managers congratulating me and the rest of it. And whilst it's nice, I mean, it is nice to get these phone calls from people. I've been involved in non-league football for so long to know that it's not about getting carried away, but enjoying the moment as much as I can. Yes, we're looking as management, looking at the playoffs, thinking, look, we can do it. We can get into playoffs, and then it's down for us now to keep it. Once you're there, it's for you to lose, sort of thing. Players talk about it. Players are adamant they're going to make it there, and why not? We've worked hard to get to where we are from the start. We had at the beginning of the season, but we're facing a tough 2 months in December and January. Starting tomorrow, even we're away at Merstham in the Surrey Senior Cup, a league above us, local derby. I know the manager very well, so there's going to be a bit of a good competition, but yeah, no one's going to want to lose it.
So what do you do with that then, Martin? I mean, as you said, you're in a good run. You're on a good run of form. And then you come up and you're going into your county cup, and you going up against Frank's boys there. I mean, what do you do as a manager? Do you then go into it and go, well, look, okay, we've got Westfield at the weekend, so what we'll do is we'll give some of the fringe players a go, or do you still go in with your main players because you want to keep the run going? Because as you said, you want to keep that run going. You don't want to get to a 96-minute winner from say Cray, and then all of a sudden you go on a run of losses. So I mean, as a manager, I mean, is that a tough decision for you to have to make, whether you play fringe players in that or you go with your normal team?
Well, we had Harrow Borough the other day in the trophy. Lost that one 1-0. Bake to tell you, we went toe to toe for as long as we could. Just couldn't break them down, and their experience showed they're very good at the back. And going into that game, we did have that conversation amongst ourselves, like management, like, look, we can't rest players, because we rest players, we could get properly turned over, and then we've got to try and G everyone back up for the following game. So it was a case of, look, why change what we're doing? We're doing well with the certain formation and certain tactics that we're using. Let's go and put it up against a better side and see what they're about. And whilst I might sit here thinking, we had a chance to beat them, Bake's could have been like, well, yeah, I rested 7 of my players and sort of took it easy. I expect those teams to sort of rest a couple and give a couple of players a chance, but I probably shouldn't give away too much, but I won't be doing it. I'll be going there to beat them, to have a laugh with Frank after, drop him a cheeky text after. But yeah, look, there won't be any changes, not changes that I want to make or changes that people think I should be making. I'll be going there to win it.
You're the first sort of manager that's sort of refreshing to hear that, because I listened to some managers, including my own Danny and stuff like that in previous years, and again, I don't know what the situation with Georgia at Romania is, but I always look at it and think, you're great. You got the FA Cup where you get a bit of money for the club if you get a good run, the FA Trophy where you might get a bit of money for the club if you get a good run. But realistically, until probably last season when Hornchurch won it, you're not necessarily going to win the trophy, and you're not necessarily going to win the FA Cup. So I, for me, never understand why managers then go into games in the County Cup and, in the League Cup and play understrength teams. Listen, I know some people come back to me and they go, yeah, but I've got to give me fringe players a game, etc., etc., etc. Okay, fair enough. Organise a friendly to do that.
Yeah,
Sure,
yeah.
not being funny. If these are 2 cup competitions you can win, why would you want to put in a week inside to throw that opportunity away? I don't know. It might be me being the competitive person that I am. I don't know, but I can never get my head round
No, I
why
agree.
managers do that.
I totally agree. So if I've got a squad of 22, I'm fortunate enough to have a squad of 22 where if they're fit, they will travel to the game regardless. They don't find out the starting lineup or even the squad until they get there. Some people may think like, how are you doing that on the budget you're doing or whatever else they're going to think. But I do. I send a message out to the squad inside the WhatsApp group and I expect everybody to be there. Then if there's 3 or 4 getting treatment, I'll work with the rest. So the 18. And then 2, unfortunately, won't be joining the squad, but they'll do a warm-up with us as normal and do some box-to-box and watch the game and support the boys. So, I mean, in terms of going back to whether there's, the argument of why don't you rest some for this game because it's not as important. Every game for me, I want to win. Even if I arrange a midweek friendly with the 23s, I want to win and batter them convincingly. And I'll say it to the boys, don't rest up on them. We beat them, we turn them over, we put them back in their place, and they're not allowed to knock on the door for another couple of months if they want to try and take a shirt off you. So again, for me to then rest, so let's say I've got you and George inside, I rest you 2, you're the 2 strikers, I rest you 2, put you aside, put 2 fringe players on, they score a hat-trick each, they're then going to be expected to play the following week, yet you 2 have been scoring week in, week out. So I think it's false pretense. I know they all want to play competitive games, but they just have to wait their chance. And when they get their chance, keep the shirt. And that's I know there's not many managers that will speak this openly, this freely, and they'll be very conservative and be cryptic in their replies. I don't see the point in it. Everyone knows what you're thinking. Everyone knows what you're supposed to be saying. And Frank will know. Even if I sat here now and went, yeah, going to rest 3 or 4. I've got a young kid from Accrington Stanley I want to look at. Frank would be laughing at the other side, thinking, you lying bastard, you can put your strongest side out. And I am. I want to win it. And the club are expecting me to put my strongest side out.
I'll be honest, this year at Harlow, he's done that. This year, Danny Chapman actually put his strongest team out. We played Romania in the League Cup, and he put his strongest team out, etc., etc. In that game, the strongest team that he had available for him to be able to put out. If you know what I mean, there was no like previous years where he's taken out, as you said, like 5 or 6 and put in 5 or 6, and you think, who's that? Never even heard of them before. Do you know what I mean? Because they might have been in the reserves or wherever. So it's difficult, but it's something that's always baffled me why managers never do that. Do you do that, George?
Well, I'm going to be
conservative.
No, I'm going to be I mean, obviously, you don't really know me too well, Martin, but I usually speak my mind and I'll say how I feel. But for me, if I've signed 20 players, which we have, and 2 of them is goalkeeper, maybe we've got 21 in the squad, 22. We ain't got a reserve team. And facilities to play facilities to play friendlies. We haven't got the facilities to do that. If we were owner at Cheshunt, with the ground that they have, they've got an amazing stadium ground, AstroTurf, then that's the different circumstances. But with us, we've got 20 odd players who are, I'd say, a quality, and Dave will say, I played my reserve team against Dave. Team. But yeah, for us, it's more difficult. So I'd say on the fact that if I give other fringe players, if you say so-called fringe, I don't class them as that. I class them as we got 20 players that are quality and they're all fighting to get in. And if they're going to play in a cup competition, which I usually do, we'll play 2 or 3 players that haven't been playing regular, because it's not fair for them because they're travelling, and we only see them in training, and they play really well. They stay in. So this is a fight. It's a fighting situation where they get in and they don't. And I think against Dave's Harlow the other day when we played against them, we dominated the game most of the game, but we blew out our steam towards the end. But yeah, I'll be the opposite. I've got a squad and I'll give people a rest that I think have played. Like we've got 2 or 3 players that have played majority of the games this season. I'll rather rest them. Because our main focus is winning the league or getting into the playoffs. So the cup competitions, you win it, you win the local cup, etc. What's that? It's a nice prestige thing, but for us to get into a playoff or to stay in the league or to win the league, for me, is more of an incentive than just to play local cups. Sorry.
No, that's fair enough, George. But what if you dropped me and River? Right, we've been playing well for the last 5 or 6 games, and you drop us to play 2 2 other players from the squad and they play well, they keep our shirts.
Sorry, say that again. I lost you there. Sorry.
Let's say you've got me and River playing for you, and we're regular starters for you. So we get to this cup game, and you drop us 2 and play 2 players in our positions who do really well. They'll be starting over us 2.
Yeah, are you talking about the FA Trophy and the FA Cup competitions? Is that what we're talking about?
No, I'm just saying
about a League Cup.
Yeah, I'm just going back to what you
I don't think. I don't know. Ask River. We all been players. I think in the League Cup, you've been playing 10 games consistently, and you know what it's like from September straight to when you start the local league cup competition, and he has a rest. I don't. I mean, I'm putting it on River now. How would you feel to have a rest in a game? If you get, what's the chances of you getting dropped if you're playing well? You're going to have a rest anyway, and if you do, it's for the good for the team, isn't it?
No. Yeah, my point was that the 2 players you replace us with, they play really well. Do they start the next league game?
Yeah. Well, I'm saying hypothetically, it could possible. You know, we know as managers and assistant managers or whatever you want to call us, we know what the real outcome will be. But to give them the opportunity to play and not to think, you know, they haven't got the opportunity to prove themselves. And if they do have a great game, again, against Harlow or a decent young side, really good, decent young side, and they play really well, you know, that they've got an opportunity to be in the first 11 on the Saturday. And like what you say, Martin, with the 20 players, all our players turn up for the game as well. So they will see it from themselves. So if there's an argument about it or debate about it, we can talk about it afterwards. But we try and be as fair as possible. Again, if we had a reserve team or under 23s where they could play, it'd be a different circumstance. And touching on the AstroTurf situation, I think it's a great idea, but when my club eventually have their own stadium, we're going to be grass only. So the AstroTurf thing, I understand the financial element of it and the situation, but for me, it's more of we're a grass playing side, and we want to stay on it. If there's one next to it, an AstroTurf next to it, then that's different. You know, like Cheshunt does their facilities. That's different because that's how they get their finances. But us going forward as a club, I know Ian is a big advocate for grass pitches, and I am also. But an AstroTurf, I'd say decent, but and it's great. The ones that are up to date, and I just think you get more and more injuries on AstroTurf than grass anyway. That's my theory.
And to say that, Martin, you know, with George's team, I just hope, you know, that he was to have dropped Kieran, his striker, and then somebody else does play well and they take his place, and then he gets fed up and he can come back and join Arlo. That'd be great.
Yeah. No. I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's about keeping people happy, isn't it? At the end of the day, I understand that. But if you've got 20 players and then just keep them sub every week, I just don't, you know, at the end of the day, I get 1 or 2 players might come in for injuries. And when I spoke to Dave last week, we didn't have any injuries. This week, we got 4 and two suspensions. So that's really narrowed us down now. So those players that haven't played and they've been sub and coming on, where's their game time? Yeah. So we try and rotate. We don't play the same side constantly. Plus, also opposition, when they come and watch you, because nowadays it's no Mickey Mouse no more. It's people come and watch, you know, Tuesday nights. They got scouts, there's YouTube, or there's different things. So they're watching what our players play, and they're studying how they play. So for us to change it up, I think it's a good thing. So but I'm not saying any different, Martin.
No, of course not. It's what works for the squad, I suppose.
Yeah, that's how I look at it. Does it work at the moment? I'd say no, because we're not doing as good as we should be at the moment. But going forward, that's always going to be our philosophy until we get a reserve team or things change.
I mean, is that? I mean, for you, Martin, is that? I mean, have you got a reserves yourself or under 23s?
We've got 23s, but and I've only used them a couple of times to put my players in. Having been and watched a couple of the games, and my 23s manager is probably going to go mad now. But I'm probably not going to use my first team players to play in that, because I don't. Other than actually playing a game of football, I don't see what they're getting out of it. I've got to use it for my under 18s for a gradual step up to the first team, and that's working well. Daniel's been giving me some players on a regular basis. Like I say, I've got 22 players in the squad, but I've got some injuries. Got quite a few injuries.
I mean, one of the things I've heard from, especially from some of the managers as well, was, I mean, I do a local YouTube channel, which George's team is part of, and a few others around the local area. But some of the things I hear from them is, of course, since we've gone over to the Southern League, there is no under-23s league. So, I mean, is that difficult? I mean, would you find that difficult if you haven't got an under-23 league? I know the Eastman League do mine, but would you find that a bit more difficult then if you haven't got that opportunity to have an under-23s in that sort of?
I don't think they need. I don't think they need to actually go into. If there wasn't an under-23s league, then I'd probably get the reserves together and put them in a suburban league, which is a decent level. Yeah, I mean, it does help, and like George has said, if you haven't got a reserves or a 23s, you're in trouble really trying to keep 20 lads happy. Unless you go and partner up with a county side, but then you've got to trust that county side ain't going to keep your player and offer your player an extra £5 or a tenner to stay. And you try and get him back on a Tuesday night to go and play Harlow away, you might say, actually, no, I'm going to stay with these boys. So yeah, it is difficult, and I know I'm lucky enough to have the 23s. It costs the club. I know, again, it costs the club to have that 23s, but it's been brilliant for me.
So
can I just mention, Dave, can I just mention, sorry, just briefly, players also, there's a financial element as well, so they do get paid. So for me, if you're not playing on a Tuesday night and you've got a 23s on a Wednesday night, why can't a couple of your players go and play? At the end of the day, they're paid players. The majority of them get at this standard, this standard, they get paid. So I think, the 23 for me on a Wednesday night will be a brilliant thing if we had an opportunity and one or two of our boys will play on that. Even if they don't like it, that's neither, is it?
I mean, with your games coming up then, Martin, I mean, you've got, as you say, you've got Mersham tomorrow night, then Westfield at home, then you've got a couple of, real, it starts to get, say, the league itself is quite difficult. You've got Westfield, then Bracknell, you've got Hive in the League Cup, Chertsey, Marlow. So, I mean, these games are going, as you said, it's going to be a tough test then going into that. I mean, is that where you're looking at to see where you might be come sort of Christmas time? Is that where you're looking at?
Yeah, I mean, because we played so far, Chertsey, Marlow, Chipstead. We played all those already. I mean, at the three of them, Marlow beat us the first game of the season 3-0. I'm not going to go into what happened prior to the game and all the rest of it in our prep, but they were the ones that dealt with us properly. Chipstead, we were unlucky. I know it's 4-2, but you go and speak to them. We were unlucky to come away with anything at all. Should have beaten again with Chertsey. So I mean, it'd be nice to see where we are now when we go and play them again. I'm looking forward to it. I can't say I'm looking forward to Bracknell much. I had them down. Yeah, I had them down to walk the league. To be fair, but again, you don't want to be bad. You don't want to be playing easy sides every week. You want to go and push yourself and test yourself. I know I did as a player, and I do as a manager. I want to see where we are against them, and then we've got that trip. Oh, actually, we haven't got. We reached them on the 1st of Jan. Guernsey, they come over on New Year's Day, so I hope they will have a good New Year's Eve for everyone. But yeah, it's a tough 2 months. I might be back on the show and we're sitting just above relegation.
I mean, you said earlier on about that the club was talking about, just staying in, etc., because of the 3G. But I mean, has the club itself now sort of like changed, or the chairman's sort of mind been swayed with the way you've been playing and the way the team's coming together? Is that sort of expectations now sort of risen inside the club?
It would have risen because of the performances they've seen, how well we've been playing, the scoreline that we've been producing. So it's only natural that they're going to expect more and want more. The initial target wasn't to do with, and I hope it wasn't to do with the management team that they've got in, or anything to do with the squad that we get. Because as George will tell you, every year you're probably adding another 11 players to your squad. You'd love to have the same 20 or 22 because you add into your squad because players go elsewhere for whatever reason. But I mean, that target was set by the board purely based on budget and what we've got available to us at the club. It's probably the lowest budget I've had to work with whilst being involved. But at the moment, sorry for the noise, my little one, as at the moment, it has no bearing. It doesn't matter what your budget is because we're performing well without one, and Casuals got promoted without one.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, mate, we'll move on to FC Romania. So, I mean, George, talk to us a little bit about Romania, and if we're talking about away trips, and people are talking about away trips, no, we don't have to travel to Romania for an away game for them. So it's only to Chestnut, it's only up the road. But tell us a little bit about the club itself, mate. You're on mute, mate. You put yourself on mute.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you, mate. Yeah, tell us a little bit about the club.
And by the way, that's an old joke, yeah? You said that one before. All right. No, I don't want to go on too much because of the two boys in Plymouth. They're a long way away and they get kind of bored. But we're a club that was founded about 14 years ago by Ian, who's the manager of the team. They played Sunday football for quite a long time. They were really good at Sunday football. The style of play is I don't know if you've seen the Romanian teams, etc. So we don't try and play from the back. It's a passing game, and it's quite attractive. Teams that play against us, enjoy the way we play and all that, and always quite encouraging to say that it's nice to see the way you play. And they've moved up the league, so they're now in step 4. Struggling in step 4, they were originally. We found a sponsorship beginning of last year, and we've just kicked on really. And and there's been a lot of talk about we're on a massive budget, etc. No, it's the first time ever we've had a budget, and it's a credit to Ian who's self-funded the club. But you can't, as you go up the leagues, and the guys will tell you, it's very difficult to attract better players, etc. And what we're trying to do as a community side is trying to do really well in this particular league. It's very difficult to get at the moment. We've currently got 3 Romanian players. We had when I first joined about 17, but as you go up, and Martin will tell you, it's a difficult league, and it's very hard to attract the right type of player, the style of player that we're playing. So we are in step 4 now. Our expectation was to be around the playoff area, hopefully to get into the playoffs. We're up and down at the moment due to the style of play that we play, injuries, and just naivety with certain players. But we've got 19 players, new players at the squad, so we're trying to embed them as much as possible into the system that we're looking for. But it's been quite difficult. What can I say? We want eventually to move grounds. We're currently at Cheshunt Football Club. We're ground sharing there. We've been there for the last 7 years. They're great hosts. They're whatever we want, they're more than happy to support us. We train on a Tuesday night there, and on a Thursday night we train at Barking. Hence, me seeing Ali once or twice with her big mouth, telling them, which I like it, by the way. I like it, by the way. Telling them the guys that are injured get on it and start running and start working hard. So that's how I originally saw Ali.
So you just said that about trying to find their own ground and etc.
Yeah.
Where, if you could find your own ground, where's the ideal area that FC Romania would want to put themselves in?
Well, going forward, which I was going to get to eventually. Going forward, we're going to move to Brent. That's where, because we've got like 38,000 people, Romanian people in that community. So we're looking to go in Brent, and the process is happening at the moment, where we're looking for the appropriate area in Brent. The local councillors there are quite keen for us to get a non-league club there. So that is sort of like the process we're trying to get in. So at the moment it's just talk. we're definitely going to move. We're definitely going to move forward. The sponsor that we've got now is guaranteed us for 5 years that he will be with us. I think going forward, he's also remaining. Going forward, he's there to sponsor us as well. Really, really support. We're slowly getting a bigger club. At the moment, we're quite a small club. So we're slowly getting more fans, and that's more British people and more than a Remain. We have got a Romanian community support, but we've also getting more and more people from Cheshunt supporting the club because they enjoy the way we play. And moving forward, we want to do as well as possible. And yes, I hate losing. Iron hates losing, and our expectations every week is to win. But unfortunately, in this league with referees and in certain games, in certain teams, it's quite difficult.
I mean, most of your games, though, George. Well, I'm just looking at them now. You know, if you have actually lost a game, other than the Tame United, who are one of those sides that you never know what you're going to get when you go against them. I mean, no disrespect, every game that you have lost is only been by a single goal, other than the Tame one when he went down by 5. But everybody has. Tame seems to be that that side that you can go to one week and give them a good idea, and go there the following week with the same team and get a good idea yourself. Do you know what I mean? So you never know what you're going to get with them. So I mean, that just shows an improvement. And no disrespect to you guys, you know, when you was in the Isthmian League, it wasn't necessarily, you know, you was one of those sides that was in the league that would be struggling towards the bottom end of that table in the league that, of course, that Martin's in at the moment. So I mean, and this year, I mean, I came over and saw the game when you played, you know, when you played Harlow, and as you said, you didn't have your full team out, and the side looked, you know, extremely strong. So I mean, everything seems to be looking quite rosy for Romania. And I mean, I've looked at your next few games, and they're games that maybe that are winnable games for you. The next sort of, you know, at least the next 3 games: Hertford, Kempston, and Didcot. They're all sort of games where, you know, that you know they are a good chance for a good victory.
Yeah, again, what's disappointing on our behalf, we play so well leading up to a goal, and then we score, and then we concede at the wrong times, and it's through our mistakes. Obviously, playing from the back, it's always going to be quite difficult teams to play. A lot of the teams in that league as well play counter-attacking football, where it's quite pretty long, the style of playing, and the percentage, it cost us in the end. So, and the naivety we're trying to get over, as I said, through training. We definitely train twice a week. We sit down with the boys, we analyse games, we do things as most clubs do, I think, the same as. So there's nothing different that we do that any other club. But as I said, with the situation when Martin was saying about winning and we play the strongest team, we try to play the strongest team every week. But unfortunately, the club that we have, we've got 20 players, and our expectation of why sign 20 players for the sake of putting 3 boys on the bench that are really not as good as that level. So what Iron's theory is we need to sign players that are good enough from the bench to come onto the game and make an impact, because previously in those years you'll have 5 players that weren't that good, didn't make an impact, and we just think it's just a waste of time for the sake of X amount of money. It's not worth it for us, you know, because we need to obviously make an impact. And we also struggle as well. We also struggle because teams think FC Romania, they're all Romanians, and it's they're all fighting, and it's stupid. You know, it's silly. You know, these boys are educated, and when it comes to the league, they know how to play football, and their expectations, as all of us, are quite high.
I mean, with COVID and everything else, Martin, have you played Romania?
I haven't. I missed out on managing against them, but I did hear that's exactly what I heard from reports, and like you said, people scouting other sides and that. I did have them watched, and that's what I got from them. Very footballing. Can't bully them. For most footballing sides, you can bully them. Can't bully these guys, and blah blah blah. But yeah, I have heard it from a number of people that, you know, and credit to yourself and your manager that, yeah, I hear good things about them being a footballing side.
guys that Mike and River. I mean, have you got sides that you look at in your league that you think you just no way of bullying them at all?
Normally Tottenham that we've just beat on the weekend, but just touching on when they say about like resting lads, stuff like that. Like if you looked at our side against Tottenham, all your supposedly big starters were all on the bench really for whatever reason, injuries or whatever. And the lads who had come in, touching on what George said, I hate being on the bench, me. I'm one of them. I'll moan if I'm starting. I'll moan if I'm playing. I hate it. Like I'd rather just not be there because it irritates me. Like, but it's one of them where I understand what Martin was saying about if you drop and someone does well, it's a nightmare situation for a manager that you put yourself in. Because then you've got two lads saying, well, I was doing well before and you took me out, and the other lad saying I've took my chance or whatever. But touching on the bullying side, I think Tottenham are meant to be like at their direct side, and we ran all over them really. Whereas you think if I played and a few other people played, you probably wouldn't have got that result on another day. Do you know what I mean? So people have a way of playing, and I think you've either got to be one way or the other. It's hard to. They chuck it from one end to the other, and they do it well. At their place, they battered us on a smaller pitch, and we've got our way. We're not. I was going to say, George, obviously, when you said about the goals you can see, there's a long old process, ain't it, when you're playing back, and because you're always gonna. I think a lot of managers say, "Oh, we're a footballing side, we want to play," and then you do two passes from the keeper and kick it anyway. Yeah, which drives me insane. And if you make a mistake, and it's hard. It's hard as an pill to swallow, but you are going to do that by trying that process. But if you can do that and not be bullied as well, you just seem like you're on the right lines. Like,
well, why? I had this question with my daughter the other day when I was watching my side. One of my sides in Arsenal played, and they played from the back and stuff like that on the TV, and we were just sitting there watching, and she just turned around to me. She said, "But why does the goalkeeper pass it to the bloke standing right next door to him, and he passes it to a bloke across the box who's standing next to him, and they pass it back to the goalkeeper, and then he lumps it up the pitch?" What is that? Why do clubs do that? Why does it just not the goalkeeper just take the goal kick? Why do you take that risk of?
Because I don't think
you know what I mean.
I don't think the initial goal kick or short goal kick is to have it back to go and pump it long. You're inviting that press on. You're inviting that back line higher in anticipation that they don't quite press you as well as they should do, and you can play through the lines and get yourself forward. That last kick when they do, and I'm an Arsenal fan as well, so I'm defending them here. That last kick, so if you're going to your left side centre half, over to your right side, back to the keeper, he's probably got that only option. The only option before giving it back to a striker is to get rid of it and play a direct pass. I mean, going down the league, so going back to step 4, that ain't the answer. The answer is sometimes, and this is no dig at any managers out there that we've come up against or any that I've heard of, is that they'll play out short, like you say, two or three passes, then bang, and the striker ain't even set to go and make that run. He's probably a target geezer. It's not big 6'3" striker that's going to receive it to the chest anyway, but you don't bang it to the channel and hope he's going to run onto it. Now that's the difference between pro football and step 4, 5, and 6. I think many players know why they're playing a short ball across the box to a left back or right back or what have you. I don't know, but that's just me.
What about barking, Ali? How does
long ball?
Yeah,
Justin loves a long ball.
We're talking
long
about
ball, AstroTurf. Long ball.
In all fairness, we're talking about people that can't be, bullied on the pitch. There's a manager you can't bully, isn't it?
Oh, do you know what? I've never worked with Justin before. I've heard enough rumours, and do you know what? He's probably one of the loveliest guys I've ever worked for. He's such a genuine 100%. Bloke, and he can't spoil me enough, really, which is lovely. I've been at Cray for like 9 odd years before that, so I was a bit worried about leaving and going somewhere new. I think in defence of Barking, any team that loses Jay Leader and loses Charlie Mack to long-term injury is gonna suffer. It's maybe has to change when we play. It's kind of
that's what Justin said. What Justin said the other day to me as well. Yeah.
Honestly, I think Jay Leader's probably one of the best players in our league, if not all the leagues. I think I'll always say it about Jay Leader. Harry's not a pro, I don't know, but I'm very biased. I've been with him for years now, but to lose him so early on for that amount of time is hard, isn't it? You know.
Yeah,
Done, Ali. What's he done?
I'm not going to comment if that's all right, David.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, but yeah, if one of them ones, it's just
private parts.
Yeah, do you know what? It'd be easy if it was, to be honest, George. Easier to fix. But one of them ones that when someone's told they're going to be out for that length of time, when you built a team to do a certain job, and physio goes, he's going to be out for X, Y, Z, and it must make your manager's heart sink when you go, it's not going to be a 2-weeker. I'm really sorry.
So my question to you with Justin though is, what is that?
Sacked, Dave. I'm very nervous.
I just want to know what the beard's all about.
I quite like a beard, David.
Nah,
I've no issue with beards. There's a lot of beards on it tonight. I'm enjoying myself.
He doesn't look.
David can't grow one.
Yeah, but in all fairness, he just doesn't look as menacing, does he? You know what I mean?
I think it does. I think it's a proper manly manager beard, isn't it? Justin's beard. You know what? I wouldn't dare take it away from him, to be fair. So I'm not going to tell him to shave.
But I mean, is there managers that you know, talking to, you know, with sort of Justin and even the guys in the Southern areas, are there managers that you come up against and you think, oh my days, we're in for it today? Do you know what I mean? It's going to be a really tasty time on the touchline, maybe for George and for Martin.
For me, I
You
think
know,
Justin
maybe
did
yourself
what you
as well
reckoned
when you're on
with.
there.
Good luck against Justin. No one's winning against that man in terms of touchline stuff,
But
are they?
is there people on the touchline that you know you're in for, you know, should we say, like a tough game, shall we say? So, like, you know, for instance, you know, like Craig at Cheshunt, you know full well, one of the same as Justin, really, really lovely guy. But oh my days, you don't want to be messing with him, do you? Do you know what I mean? So these are the type of people I'm talking about on the touchline. I mean, Martin, what you like on the touchline? I mean, are you sort of? I don't like to use the word aggressive, but do you know what I'm trying to say? Like,
I'm vocal. I am vocal.
Yeah, that's probably
I am vocal,
word.
and I'm protective of the boys, no matter, you know, the age. If I've got a senior squad or a younger squad that I've got now, I am protective of them. I've put them out there. I've put them in front of these people. And I've had an incident recently to Mitcham where I was struck, and I didn't take it too well. But yeah, I'm aggressive or over the top, but I let it be known that I'm not going to lay down. Mind you, if we come up against FC Romania, George looks a bit tasty, so I'll probably shut up and sit down.
I mean, what about yourself, River and Mike? Have you seen managers like in the Southern League in your part of the area there, and in the leagues you've been before? Is there something there that are, you know, that are sort of, shall we say, tasty managers, shall we say?
I think we're quite soft down here, ain't we? Like, in terms of when I've travelled around in your London side and stuff, we're generally a lot softer down here. Like, and I think the game's kind of gone that way as well. But our sort of gaffer, he's quite furry on the sideline. Then you've got the man of farm, you get the odd couple, but then you also get the other lot that want to be their mates, so they don't try it as well. Do you know what I mean? I think also from what I've seen from this sort of way, I don't really get like that anymore.
I mean, is there managers you like? I mean, sort of final question to all of you guys, really. Is there managers that you love coming up against because you know it's going to be a fun afternoon? I mean, who's the one manager that you forget whatever team they're playing against? You know, you're playing against. You know, what is that one manager that you love to be in the opposite dugout against for whatever reason? Mine.
The one manager that stands out purely because our manager and him have got a history together. So it's the Tavistock manager, Stuart Henderson. And it's not because he is anything special. Well, he's a good manager, but as a person and things like that, and his charisma. But when you get our manager and his manager together, I think it's always a Boxing Day derby or a Good Friday derby because it's a local rivalry, and they're normally sent off together, or the game ends with 8 men on the pitch each. So those together, it's, you know, you're in for fireworks.
Ali, what about you? Because I mean, yours is a bit different. But what two managers, you work for a few managers, what two managers do you enjoy sort of sitting on the bench, looking at having a go at each other?
It's hard to say. I mean, I think Wainsey could have started a fight in that empty room if he wished to. I don't tend to get involved in all that. I'll be honest, I was fangirling over Julian Dix a little bit. I didn't dare go and say hello, but I was definitely having a good look across there going, oh my God, it's Julian Dix, a massive West Ham fan. That was pretty cool. And we had Gale's come across, so I sort of got to meet Tony Gale again, which is nice. I don't tend to really talk to managers that much, to be honest. I keep myself to myself. I would love to get Lewis in a game, just for a bit of old time's sake. But that's me being a bit selfish, isn't it? I do miss care of him very much.
What about you, Mike?
I like to come up against Kev at Chertsey. We're good. Well, I say good friends. We know each other, and I know my little take to stand toe to toe with him. Like, it'd be the little bits and bobs between the two dugouts and trying to play each other off of each other. And again,
everybody, is he?
No, he's not. Unfortunately, we won't go into that.
No, we won't. No.
No. And then, as Ali just said, I'm very good mates with Vines. He played with Vines at Tooting, but so when we played them, it became sort of little comments and digs back at each other. It was all harmless, but yeah, I'd rather that than having nose to nose. I've had nose to noses in the past with Matt Longhurst, Dom DePaolo. I've had quite a few. Andy Gale.
Yeah. Andy Gale alone. You stay away from him.
Yeah.
What about you, River? Which ones do you like playing up against?
You know what? I haven't been in the same league for the last 5 years, so I don't come up against that
old journey boy.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, you could say that. We always there's one since playing the part where who, I think he's manager of Magnets Field now in Bristol, but our gaffer's very like OCD in particular, and this bloke just winds him up more than like he's called Lee Hobbs, and they'll call him Lee Hodge or Les or whatever, and it just nigs him. So not for myself personally, I don't know much of him, but for that reason, I enjoy playing against him.
George,
there's no one I'm scared of.
I think you're right, George.
Top draw up, Mike. Who would you like to see like in the other, in the dugouts?
I'm a bit like Riv, really. I'm the same. I did mention obviously the Tavistock manager, but like it's a new league. It's Bristol Manor Farm. I thought he'd be a bit more tasty than what he was. He was quite quiet on the night. So yeah, long way to go, and I think that question might be best answered at the end of this.
But for me, and I'm very honest, the one that I always used to look forward to was Danny Chapman versus Justin Gardner. That was always a blinder to sit and watch. But if I was to pick one that I'd like to be a fly in the middle of the dugouts, I think it would have to be Craig Edwards and Lee Dynan. I think that would be the one that would be the one that I'd love to be able to sit there and watch them two having a go at each other. But that would be interesting. But listen, guys, I've just looked at the time's flown by, and I really appreciate everybody coming on tonight. I really do. Massive thank you to Ali for stepping in for Keith tonight. So massive thank you. We'll talk later, and we'll get ours going again. And of course and to Mike and to River, massive thank you for joining us tonight. And Mike, we might be seeing you, might be talking to you about other ideas coming up very, very shortly as well with the Southern League. And wish you and River all the very best for the season with Plymouth. Martin, a massive thank you as well for you, sir, to coming on tonight. And wish South Park all the very, very best for the season as well. And of course, George, we'll speak probably later in the week as well, sir. But wish you all the best with FC Romania as well. And me and Keith will be back next week. And we've actually got the Corinthian Casuals manager, the Corinthians manager will be with us next week. Michael will be with us next week. So we're looking forward to having a chat with Michael next week. And of course, a few others. And stay tuned. The Effing Bag Show will be coming back. There's been a few issues from my side of things with different bits and bobs going on. But we will be back with Ali and Ems. And of course, if you want to be scared, then that's the game to go to when you've got Ems on the touchline, because oh boy, I witnessed that the other week, and that was something to behold. That's the one for me. But until next week, from me, from Ali, and from all our guests tonight, thanks for watching and good night.
Cheers. All the best.
Cheers,